All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harakah HaKodash. A double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere Shalom to Yakim bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. And now I found this video, off of TikTok, and just wanted to do a quick lesson through the spirit, because basically Jake, he's mad at the fact that as it says here, the Africans are getting too comfortable. Now, in the sense in which he's talking about, he's speaking about, he never mentions the name of Ham, right? We understand Jake, doesn't understand all, but nevertheless, he's, angry or angered at the fact that there's a difference between, Ham and Israel, man, right? Although he understands, as the scripture says this here, Jake don't quote the precepts, but we all know that Jake is special, man. Deuteronomy 7:6, it says, "For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy power, Yahweh. The Lord thy power, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth." Right? So Jake, inwardly understands that, we're a special people, right? Whether it brings, for example, the scriptures say, "For ye are the salt of the earth." Jake understands that we're the culture, the heartbeat. We make things move. We, continue to help stimulate the economy by spending, so forth and so on. And that goes for all 12 of the tribes. And we're all special and nigh unto the Lord, right? It says, "Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any people. For ye were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt." Right now, I'm going to let this video play, and I'm going to, come in with precepts, because Jake has, minimal understanding. But as watching it, you understand that, a lot of the people he was showing forth as quote unquote Africans, are still Israelites, man. But let's get into it. Right, let's read the captions as well. All right, it says, "When she's African but looks African American." This one says, "You look African American." "No, darling, I'm just African." And this one says, "The Ghanaian urge to look African American instead of African. African men that look American." It says, "POV, y'all African but look African American. African but look African American." All right, continue to let it play. Right? So Jake is mad at the fact, that he feels cultural appropriation has been in the midst of Ham. Like we always say, man, and I'll grab this precept here. Now, when we go into the book of Exodus 11:7, right? And we use this precept here, and I'll read it first. It says, "But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that you may know that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel," right? Basically a nation of Ham and Israel, or Ham and Israel. But the true understanding is, we understand that when, Egypt was being hit with the plagues, in which the Lord was sending forth to the Egyptians by way of Moses and Aaron, that, all Egyptians from the elderly to the babe, was being plagued by those plagues of darkness, of locusts, so forth and so on. While Israel, especially when you take a look at the plague of darkness, man, for example, in the plague of darkness, Jake, in the land of Goshen, speaking of the Israelites, we still had light within Goshen, man. Right? So the Lord separated whom he would allow those plagues to hit versus whom that the plagues would not deal with or not affect, so to speak, man. And much like the elect in this time, not being consumed by the plagues that Yahweh Bashim Yahshua are going to bring forth that destroy Jake, or the 2/3, right? We understand 2/3 are going to die by way of famine, die by way of pestilence, martial law, civil war, newly created creatures, so forth and so on, man. Those plagues, as the scripture says in the book of Sirach 40:4, these things were created for the wicked, right? But as far as the elect, we understand the elect have to go through, the evil days of Jacob's trouble in Daniel 12:1, but they won't be consumed by those plagues as the two-thirds of the nation of Israel and the rest of the heathen, but we still have to go through it. So Jake is different, but we understand also that you have Israelites scattered in all the lands across the earth, man. And the scriptures tells us this, 1 John 4:1. Oops. That's 1 John 1:4. 1 John 4:1, right? It says, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because many false prophets are going out to the world." Well, it's the same with understanding the spirit of Jake. You can tell when somebody's a Jake or when they're faking it, man. Right? You can't duplicate that salt. That's something is just in us, man. It's not, as they say, it's not on us, it's in us, right? This is just what it is. When somebody is an Israelite, man. You can tell by looking at a spirit and be like, that's a heathen, right? Especially when it comes to Ham. Ham has no sauce, right? They got no floss, no sauce, right? Not an inkling, of a flash, man, right? You could tell in the singing, in the dancing, and in the style of clothes they wear, so forth and so on. Romans 8:16, it says, "The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are children of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai," right? So through the Spirit, you'll be able to tell these things. There's certain indicators that the Lord set up. So when you go back into this video, and what Jake doesn't know, our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Ultimately, understanding the history of how Jake was scattered, answers a lot of questions when you look at a lot of these people. Because I'm sure majority of these people shown here in these slides is Jake, right? Even though they may call themselves African or Ghanaian or whatever, right? Whatever African country they'll label themselves as. A lot of these niggas is Jake, man. You could tell. It's not just the clothes, but the spirit on them, man. A lot of them is Jake. Now, you may have a few here that's Ham, for real, that's trying to mock or cosplay. But Jake has been scattered, man. We understand through when the scriptures tell us in the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, speaking about the Roman persecution of 70 AD, a lot of Jake fled, man. Fled to the west coast of Africa and around the world. It was ultimately part of the curses in which Jake was going to be scattered, man. Right? This is James 1:1. It says, "James, a servant of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, of the Lord," it's like James, a servant of Yahweh and of the Lord Yahushai, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. Right? Now I read that in NLT. It says, "This letter is from James, a slave of Yahweh and of the Lord Yahushai. I am writing to the 12 tribes, Jewish believers scattered abroad. Greetings." Right? Showing you that Jake was in every land, man. Our people have fled and been scattered everywhere. This is just what it is. So you're going to have Israelites that look like so-called Hamites. You're going to have Israelites that look like so-called Edomites, man, or so-called white people. You're going to have Israelites that look like Asian people, or Moab and Ammon. You're going to have Israelites that look like every nation because we were scattered in all of the nations. It's that simple, man. And when Jake goes into a land, we get fruitful with it, man. Everybody, every nation loves Israelite man, right? So that means what? All the women of those heathen nations, they're gonna sleep with us. And Jake do what? Jake multiply, man. Jake lay it down, and what happens? Children come forth out of those unions, right? And further down the line, you're gonna have children. Those children of the Israelite man, right? And whatever heathen nation. Those same children are going to lay down with heathen women. And the pattern is going to continue, and those seeds are going to continue to look like what? Heathens, although they're from the seed of who? Jake. That's just how it goes, man. So when we go into the book of Isaiah, the 11th chapter, and we start here at the 10th verse, it says, "And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious." It says, "And in that day to pass," it's like, "and it shall come to pass in that day, that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people." The remnant are those who were scattered. It says, "Which shall be left from where? Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea." Right? So these are all heathen nations, man. Assyrians, the Egyptians, Pathros, Cush, Ham, Elam, East Indians, Shinar, Hamath. These are all heathen nations, man. "And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth." So Israel is in all nations, man. You have Jake that are scattered within all heathen nations, right? So Jake, giving his take on so-called Africans getting too comfortable. Yeah, you have some fakers, but you also have Jake, a lot of Jake that are scattered across Africa, man, right? Who may be having heathenistic features, but they're still our people, man. And most importantly, we're only worried about the elect, right? As Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is. But just to give some, understanding on this topic, Jake is everywhere, man. We come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. The scriptures even tell you Ephraim is a cake not turned, right? So forth and so on, man. Israel is unto me as a speckled bird. When you go into that word speckled, it goes into the word variegated, right? Which means what? Varying colors. And we also understand Jakes come in various sizes, So that's just the point, just to give some clarity and some understanding on what exactly the truth is. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying unto the body. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Harakha HaKodash. A double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere shalom to Yahweh, bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. Shalom.